loads of people went to the platform looking for visibility and doing what other people do instead of doing what suits them and, what makes them shine. That's a bit of an issue at the moment. Does make you think?
Yeah, it does.
Welcome to Virtual Beer Podcast. Grab an online drink with fellow creatives. VirtualBeerPodcast.com.
Welcome to Virtual Beer. This is a very special episode because it's the first one I'm actually recording face-to-face. Every previous episode was recorded remotely, and that mostly worked fine, but honestly, I just wanted to do something else. But that being said, we are in the pandemic, and we are respecting the current measures in the Netherlands. My today's guest is Dainahara Polonia, and she is a veteran in the world of online content. She started blogging 11 years ago, and her blog, Explore Utrecht, is a comprehensive bilingual guide to Utrecht for both visitors and locals. Nowadays, she has a team of writers and offshoots on different social media platforms. She has also used all of this as a base to start her own content marketing agency. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Today, we'll talk about the wonderful world of online content and hopefully give you some helpful tips as well. So, the first post on your blog, and trust me, dear listener, I checked that, predates Instagram. How different was the whole blogging ecosystem back then?
Oh my God, yeah. It's good that you said that. I don't even know when Instagram began, but
October of 2010.
Yes. Yes, I didn't go on Instagram immediately. That I do remember. I think I waited at least a year or something. But anyways, it was I started blogging because I needed something to be like a positive impulse in my life, because I just finished the university and I was looking for a job, and there was like crisis at the moment. So I decided, how can I do something that I like to keep me busy, not to keep me thinking about all the letters I was sending out and not getting invited for any job interviews. I was still working at the Rabobank at the moment with loads of other girls working there at the telefooncentrale, the switchboard. So then everyone did something they liked. So one went to study Portuguese, the other one, I don't know. Everyone did something, and I started my blog. And a colleague that I was working for, she made my logo, which was me carrying lots of shopping bags and having a BlackBerry in my hand. So it's also the age of BlackBerries at the time.
Okay.
And that's how and I just downloaded WordPress and did some coding and put in the logo, and it was done. I was set to go.
And you never stopped after that, right?
No, no. And I get this question a lot, but I've really never really thought about it. Indeed, I never stopped, no matter what was going on in my life. It's the only continuously thing that I keep on doing. Because I have been, when I was a kid, my mother put me on, piano, violin, flute, dancing, something like that I did for very long as well. I started dancing when I was 3, and the last time, I think it was around 16 that I stopped. So dancing and blogging were the only 2 things that I really kept going. It started as a fashion blog, just something I wanted to do. I wasn't looking for anyone else to read it. Beside my friends and my colleagues. So at a certain point that changed.
Yeah, that's that old school approach to blogging. Nowadays you start something and you're immediately where are my viewers, And back in the day, we just blogged for the fun of it. Yeah,
it was fun. It was something you wanted to do. And I think that's why I've kept it going for so long. It's something that I wanted to do. And now, I monetize it, not completely, but some parts of it. And the reason why I don't want to monetize it completely is that I don't want to lose that sense that it's my thing that I want to do. Right now, I get lots of questions, for example, via social media. Or people think it's their thing, for example, they ask me, oh, why don't you do this? I'm like, it's not your blog, go away. But And also like, you don't pay me. Why should I do something, I don't want to do? And I don't want to lose that. I want to keep it something that is mine. And I've talked about with coaches about this as well, business coaches, and they say, well, you have to see it as not something that is you. You are not your blog. But after blogging for 10 years, 11 this year, and about blogging, how you see and how you feel and how you interact with your own city, it is about you.
How do you approach hiring or like working with other writers? How do you manage having other people contribute to the blog and still keeping it yours?
That's a good question. What I have a guide, like a brand book, for example, which says like your tone of voice, etc. But I don't want the other writers to lose their voice because everyone writes differently and everyone has a different perspective on things. But it needs to match my perspective. So luckily, I do all the interviews and I pick the people that that write for me, and then I give them the brand book, which also has SEO guidelines and stuff like that. And the main factor of the blog is the experience. I want people to talk about the experience, and myself and other writers, we don't write about things we have never been to. So you will never find something on a blog that just, some people just sit behind their computer and
repost like PR announcements.
Repost and something. Yeah, exactly. I do receive a lot of emails, like PR emails, stuff like that. And I know that some people just copy, paste, and put it on their blogs. I don't do that. I usually just delete them. But anyways, and look what's going on in the city, and I write about our experience in the city. So also on the blog, you don't find everything that Utrecht has to offer because it's not about everything in Utrecht. It's about what I like in Utrecht. And some people I think some people don't understand that. Maybe I should be more clear about that, but usually they think, oh, it's not on there. Have you been? I'm like, yeah, but it's not up to my standards, so I'm not going to publish anything about it.
Yeah, and you reserve the rights to not like something.
Exactly, and it's not about everything. It's my curated view of Utrecht. It's like my lifestyle in the city. That's what you're actually looking at.
Do you consider yourself an influencer? Or is that word, a bit tainted nowadays?
It is tainted nowadays, and loads of people say, oh, no, I'm a content creator. And it's like, oh my, it's so exhausting because sometimes you don't even take your own pictures. I see a content creator as a person that does everything themselves. So you write, you do your videos, you do your pictures yourself, whatever, your designs, everything you do. You have like different roles within your company. And for example, right now, sometimes you see people advertising on LinkedIn or whatever, or having their profile saying, I'm a content creator. While there are copywriters and also influencer people don't want to use it because, some influencers weren't very smart about the deals that they like accepted or companies they worked with. But that doesn't count for everyone. You cannot just say, oh, then all influencers are dumb idiots because someone did something or made a mistake. So no, I don't mind people calling me influencer. And I use the word myself as well because I don't have a better word for it.
And all this being said, what do you think are the main differences between content creators or like people making stuff on the internet in 2010 and in 2021?
I think the major thing would be back then we started because blogging was new. It was fun. It was your piece of the internet that you can write your feelings. It was seen more as a diary kind of thing. And at the moment, what I've seen through the years of people starting up online, immediately with that business instinct, oh, I can turn this into a business. Or I want to go out and dine for free once a week. Or, it's always something else they want instead of running a blog or running an online community or whatever. And to be quite honest, that's also why some people don't make it. You do it for a totally like external reason because you want something. You're not doing it because you want to do it. And I think that's the difference.
Before we dive deeper into the conversation, this is, I'm not going to say my favorite part, but one of the exciting parts of the podcast. What are we drinking?
We're drinking my favorite wine. Well, one of my favorite wines, orange wine, the Moscatel from Spain. And I bought it in Utrecht, of course, at a very nice restaurant that makes like food from local ingredients and has natural wines and cheeses and stuff to buy after you had dinner there.
Do you want to say the name of the place or do you want to keep it for yourself?
Oh, it's Saar. Saar. It's not in the city center. It's kind of 10 minutes walk from my house. So it's like, well, it's not like a luxurious setting, but it's a very good restaurant and they have good natural wines. There's nothing added to it. It's nothing taken out of it. So this is what it is. It's not like clear wine, but you will see.
Oh yeah, smells
very fresh, right?
Very fruity as well.
Uh-huh.
So I've never had orange wine. I know that some regions around Europe make it. For example, I know that there is orange wine in Slovenia, for example, but I never had it. So I'm actually very curious. It almost, when you smell it, it's almost as if you're smelling like the stem of the fruit or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. And speaking of food and drinks, we had some eclairs before before recording this, and that's another shout out if you're in Rotterdam and you want a really good eclair, Le Petit Jaune, I believe, relatively close to the station and also somewhat close to my house. One of the best eclairs I've probably ever had, especially outside of France. So a big recommendation for that as well. And the follow-up question to what are we drinking is what are we drinking to, aka what are we drinking to celebrate or to forget?
Well, let's go for celebration. Well, let's drink to spring. Finally getting, hopefully, more outside, enjoying the weather, the sun. It just, it's an uplifting feeling. And that's what I like about spring. And it's Easter, one of my favorite holidays. And it's also my birthday month.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
I didn't know
that. 3
that.
things to celebrate.
Awesome. Well, to spring.
Yes.
Cheers. At the beginning, Explore Utrecht wasn't Explore Utrecht. It was called mypersonalstyle.nl. How and when did you decide to pivot, or like did that happen gradually?
The reason why I started is because I got a lot of questions, friends, family, colleagues, where I buy my clothes. And it was mainly always in Utrecht, like boutique shops. And loads of people always went to like Amsterdam or wherever to shop and say, oh, you cannot buy anything in Utrecht, so boring. They don't have like fashion or whatever. But still they kept asking me and I was like that. And I was like, oh, they sell this here? And so that's how it started. So it was most like fashion tips, etc. And when I was working on personal style, I went to work for a male website, which styled outfits for men. But everything was mainly about fashion, how you can use, what's the latest trend, whatever, how can you style a jeans, etc. But the basis was always in Utrecht. And suddenly, like, the restaurant business became booming. Like out of nowhere, restaurants were popping up. People were thinking, oh, we don't only have cafes in Utrecht anymore. We have like good restaurants where you can eat because, well, we always had, but also a thing that people thought there wasn't because Utrecht is seen as a city for only students. So there's only cafes where you can buy like bad beer and friet and saté, that's it. And gehaktbal.
So just for context, for our listeners who are not familiar with the Netherlands at all, Utrecht is around half an hour by train from Amsterdam, and both cities are in the most densely populated area of the Netherlands. So many people, if they want to go shopping or whatever, like immediately think of Amsterdam first. Whereas nowadays, all the cities in the area are like very cool, and there are cool stuff happening everywhere.
So more restaurants were coming up. So we were writing up more about restaurants as well, and cafes, festivals. And you don't go to a website, it's called My Personal Style, to look up the latest restaurant, you know?
Yeah.
So I pivoted at well, it was a good choice, but I had to make a decision to either cut out all of the restaurants and everything else we were writing about and go completely for fashion. Because when I started out with the fashion blog, I got to go to events. I got to go to like Antwerpen, to this very luxurious hotel, and to shops. There were sneaker launches. There were things I was going, oh, what's all this happening? And my blog wasn't really big at that moment. So even then I was getting invites already. I needed to think about it. It was like, do I go fully for fashion or do I go for the city? So I chose to go for the city, and that's why I changed it to My Personal Style to Explore Utrecht, which took me 5 months to think of the name. Everything was in English, and we went from English. I decided to go from English and Dutch. So then there will be extra work, of course, because everything needs to be translated.
Were you like not scared you were going to lose, I don't know, your Google rank and your backlinks, et cetera, et cetera? Because I know actually quite a few bloggers who are thinking about changing the name of their website. But, you know, when I tell them, well, you know, you're going to lose everything, basically, they change their minds and just decide to not do it at all.
No. I'm not so afraid to like change things. Yeah, you have to start again. But that's it. You have to start again. There's nothing else you can make of it. Or you can keep doing something you don't want to do. In this case, I wanted to do both, but I didn't have the time to have like 2 blogs. So I decided to go one way. And it was a good decision because once we got the name and the guy that like the developer put the URL and everything and it launched. From there, it was just only gaining readers, gaining followers.
After the change and the rebranding, and after 11 years of blogging, if it's no secret, what are your stats?
Well, at the moment, actually last year, I think December, I decided to like stop writing for a moment because I wanted to really think about what's my next step was going to be like. So I haven't written since December. Other people have, which is actually the longest time I've never written a blog for Explore Utrecht. But I'm getting anxious to start going again, so that's good. So the stats is it depends. We used to, of course, have also tourists on the website, and because of Corona, that's not happening, which is not a bad thing because it grew within Utrecht. So the blog is not focused on tourists. It's a blog for people that live in Utrecht and want to get to know their city better through my eyes. So like 70% lives in Utrecht, and the other percent comes either from the Netherlands or from abroad. So now within Utrecht itself, I have like 10K readers a month. And Google is doing very good because last year I had this Google like SEO project because I've never thought of SEO before. I was just write and just do whatever you like, you know. And I was getting into it, and then I did the whole project, which meant that me and other writers needed to rewrite, I think about 200 blogs.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It was a lot of work, yeah.
But it's good that you only did it recently, because I think nowadays Google processes natural language way better. You know, like 10 years ago, you would sound like a robot if you wrote for Google. And now you can actually sound like a person just with keywords in places.
Yes, exactly. And you needed to get used to it as well. Now it's like flowing more and it's getting better. And in the beginning, I was like, oh, it's taking away my creativity, you know, but that's really not the case.
I think that's how many writers feel when they start thinking about SEO.
Yeah, it's not really the case, but I'm very happy because we're getting, the blog is getting loads of hits from Google. And Instagram changed totally concerning the algorithm. I used to get, I think, 200, maybe 100 followers a week. Now it's like, I don't know, 10 or something. So it's like really...
I lose mine, so...
Yeah, but you lose some, you win some. I don't know.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the beginning, I used to like really dive into my numbers, figuring out this is a hit. I should post more of this. But then that's not what the blog and the Instagram is about. And loads of people don't understand how Instagram works. So I think also that's an issue because they say... I do polls like twice a year to find out what people like, what they want to see, etc. And then they say, oh, we want restaurant tips, we want this and this. And then when you post food, it gets like almost no likes or no comments or nothing. And when you post, I don't know, a picture of someone standing on a bridge on the Nieuwe Gracht, it goes viral. You know, so it's like, what do you want? People don't understand that the thing you want to see more of is the thing you want to like.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to play that trick more often, like make sure they do hit the like button on the food post, etc. But I was like, no, this is costing me too much energy. I'm going to do what I want to do. And that's like show the city in its full glory and everything, and the housing, you know, the Oude Gracht, sometimes a food post, even if it doesn't get as much likes as I want, or as a restaurant, you know, because if you work with people, they're going to look at that as well. They're going to see, because you don't see how many people like save the post. Because I must say, like, food posts are saved more often than likes, but other people don't see that, and they think like, oh, but it's not liked that many times, you know.
Okay, so this sounds really similar to what I used to do. I used to manage an Amsterdam themed feature account, and when I took it over, it was around like 20K, and then I grew it to like 80K.
Oh, nice.
I don't do that anymore, sadly. But basically, yeah, the food posts never performed as well. So I would usually try to sandwich a photo that I know was not going to perform between two highly performing photos.
Yes.
So yeah, it's always like a little game you need to play with the followers and yourself.
Yes.
In order to like do it properly. How do you choose which networks to focus on? I know that at some point you had a very intimidating Pinterest strategy.
Yeah.
Which that's, for example, unlike Instagram, that's something that people don't normally see. But you're not the first person who told me that like they got a lot of hits to their blog by just posting very regularly on Pinterest.
Yes. Pinterest really worked good. But only because of the tourism, of course, which is kind of non-existing at the moment. So I stopped doing Pinterest at the moment. But as soon as like this is over, I will start up again. Because I used to get more hits from Pinterest than I did from Instagram.
Wow.
And people from Instagram just do not want to leave the platform. You want to be there and just scroll all day and whatever. And
well, Instagram also discourages that.
Yeah.
So
I usually almost never tell people to go to link in bio. Sometimes I do, but usually actually I just only post tips on there because people want to stay on there. So I do like what the platform is made for. I try to do it there. People that do Pinterest and Facebook, they do want to read. So they do go to your link. So that's how I do it. And it was a lot of work because I had four templates, maybe even 5 for the same blog post, because you're trying to figure out which templates, which design works best. If I had a brunch list that I wanted to promote, I had to like make 5 designs of the brunch list, and also in 2 languages. So it was Dutch and English. And to see which one worked and which one, doesn't. So yeah, sometimes it took me a day just to fill out all of those templates. I think maybe like 5 to 6 blogs, and then fill them out in templates.
I mean, a lot of work. but
lot
it
of work,
worked.
yeah.
It reminds me of the whole like story of YouTube thumbnails. Sometimes a thumbnail just won't convert.
Yes.
Sometimes the simplest, like the stupidest thumbnail you can make converts like crazy, but you kind of like never know. And you know, if a video doesn't perform, try changing the thumbnail, maybe even for the worse.
Yeah.
And, maybe,
exactly.
Maybe that works. So there are a lot of things that you need to do if you're a blogger, and you said it yourself earlier, like if you're a content creator, you do everything yourself. So what are the skills you have acquired through years of running Explore Utrecht?
Ooh, that's a good one. Skills you can always work on. I think the main thing that came along all those years was confidence. Because as a blogger or Instagram or whatever you do, if you work in a creative business, it is being creative, and it is like putting your ideas and your soul out there. And not everyone is as careful to think, oh, well, she wrote a nice blog or whatever. It was always something, oh no, that's misspelled, or oh no, that picture isn't good. No, people are always critical about something. So I think after a while, you have to get used to that, because that's just how some people are, and they don't realize the work that goes into something, and they don't realize if the person is not a creative themselves, they don't realize it's your passion or your thing that you're putting out there. So I think that's the main thing, getting confident in that, in your abilities to create something, having more guts just to put something that's maybe not finished, just put it out, whatever, let's see what happens. That's the main thing. And then following up, I would say running a team, finding people that match you, but that's works in HR. So that's always been something that I could have developed along in HR as well, like recruiting the people that match the blog to write for. And also your writing skills. I've taken up photography as well, which I really love, and I'm taking workshops and stuff in that to grow in that as well. Now I'm starting to do more like testing with video. So you keep on learning, and that's the fun thing of running your own thing, your own blog. You always keep on learning and doing new stuff. Otherwise, you will always be like dependent on other people.
Speaking of different skills, are you not afraid of how quickly the trends shift? For example, with Instagram, like, okay, we got stories and that was fine, but then suddenly we got IGTV, and then it didn't quite work as well as they wanted it to, but now they're reels, and
everyone's pushing reels.
Sometimes it feels that you have to like adapt really quickly to everything a social network throws at you, just to remain, I'm not gonna say relevant, but to remain performing on the platform.
I would say relevant as well, but that's why I don't depend on social media. I depend on my blog. I know a lot of bloggers that went totally for Instagram, the micro blogging, whatever it's called nowadays. They stopped blogging and started doing loads of Instagram, grew very big on Instagram, sponsorships, etc. But doing a lot of Instagram, you're doing a lot of work for someone else's platform. So actually you're working for Mark, you're not working for yourself. And every time something news come along, like not reels, or they're updating the platform, it crashes again, and then you have your post because you have a sponsorship, and that crashes. You're too dependent on social media. So always number one is my blog, and not Instagram, not Facebook, not Twitter. It's my blog, and that's where people come to. When you Google, I want people. Right now, like I said, last year I did the SEO. For this year, I'm taking it a step further, looking at really which blogs performed and writing more about those blogs. I have like the Dutch and the English side. I always get loads of questions about, for example, relocating to the Netherlands. It was also part of my job being an HR person. So I'm going to do that loads more. So I'm going to really write for Google. And that's going to get me more people on my blog than depending on Instagram to get me followers. So I think the main thing is really it's your own platform, and loads of people have lost sight of their own platform.
Yeah, that's a great advice. Like, I have totally put my websites on the back burner because I'm currently focusing on other things like this podcast and YouTube and stuff. But I do know that at some point I need to like sit down and write. And I have a lot of things that I want to write about. I just don't have time.
Yes. But I think also YouTube and podcast, I think that they work differently and as social media. You can have your platform on YouTube as well. You can have your platform as a podcaster as well.
Yeah, but ultimately on YouTube, you still depend on the algorithm that somebody else wrote and somebody else is tweaking all the time.
Yes,
podcasts
that is the case.
Are essentially self-hosted, so they are somewhat like a blog, but they have way less visibility, sadly.
Exactly, they do. But maybe that will change because they're getting very popular nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, focus on your own thing. And it can also be, for example, a newsletter, it doesn't need to be like a whole blog. It needs to be your own corner of the world, your community that you have, let's say, control over. Because, even SEO, Google also changes. So everything does change, but some people go all in on one platform.
Yeah, you should never put all your eggs in one basket.
No, never.
Yeah.
virtualbeerpodcast.com.
So you told me you are very selective and strategic when it comes to monetizing your blog, but last year you started your own content marketing agency, basically. Can you tell me more about that? When did it launch? How did it launch? And why did it launch?
Well, I stopped working at HR because I wasn't able to grow, and I'm quite ambitious and wasn't able to do what I wanted to do. So it was actually, and I worked there for 9 years, so it was time to leave. I have experience for 10 years already running a blog, running an online community. I was giving people advice already on mainly Instagram marketing. And then I thought, why not just do this for myself? So it's like it grew from Explore Utrecht, and actually it's still a part of Explore Utrecht, and it's just a way for me to diversify, because also I don't want to be dependent on sponsors constantly. And what we have seen with the lockdown is that sponsors canceled everything they had running with influencers mainly. And I am a local influencer, so I didn't quite have an issue with people canceling things with me. They were actually starting up more a sponsorship with me because I was very local. So that worked out for me. And so I started the company to help other people also grow a brand online and not be focused actually too much on Instagram or social media, but really focus on, if I Google your name, what do you want me to see? Because you can control what I want, what you want other people to find and see. And loads of people think, I can only be on Instagram, and there are, my target group is there and I can grow a business there. And I always say, let's not do that.
Because everybody's on Instagram, theoretically every target group is on Instagram.
Yes.
But
I was like, no, let's not do that. Let's see how you want to be seen online. What's your brand like? And then with those clients, I work on a content strategy. So we see, are you more a talker? Then maybe you should start, let's say, a podcast. Are you more a writer? Let's see if you can start a blog on your website where you offer your services as well, and grow from there. What's your niche? What can we do if people Google your name or Google your offering? What comes up?
As we were preparing for the show, you told me that a thing that business owners today get completely wrong about social media marketing is that they focus too much on social media. Is this it? But they still need to use social media in order to get their message across. So where's the line between focusing too much on, let's say, Instagram and using Instagram for something more purposeful in the end?
Yeah, you want to have an impact. So I think also it's not a bad thing if you only use social media, but if you use it to make a lasting impact on your audience. And because that's the whole thing. You want to stay top of mind. That's what social media is for. But you also want to create your own corner on the web that's about you and your business, where you can always refer people to, because people want information and they go looking for information. They don't always go looking for information on Instagram. They sometimes loads of people still Google, and then you're lost. They can't find you. If you put so much effort, and I'm not talking about like restaurants nowadays or stuff like that, or a coffee place. I'm talking if you are an entrepreneur and you have a business, or you have an online shop or whatever, or you're a coach, you want people to refer to something other than Instagram. You want to say, oh, here are my services. I wrote this blog. I can really help you. And it's such a waste if you write, some people like microblog on Instagram. I'm like, yeah, throw in 200 more words and you have a blog. And then you recap that blog for Instagram. It's not that hard to think of one major content source and then spread it around.
Yeah, repurposing content is...
Yeah, exactly.
I think people are just intimidated with everything that goes into writing a blog post. For example, SEO, etc.
But you need SEO for Instagram nowadays anyways. Because you need to write quite smartly for your account to pop up. It works kind of the same for Google. And if you write a blog post, 500 words, how much characters is Instagram? I don't even know. And you cut it into like a recap for 100 words, you have an Instagram post. And maybe what I do, like if I write a blog, I don't know, 7 tips, something like that, 10 tips. If I write a blog for 10 tips, I actually have 11 Instagram posts.
Right.
So that's what I do. I don't waste my time thinking of 11 Instagram posts and have nothing on my website. Or an ebook. When I write an ebook, fine, I can write an ebook. I have an ebook, I think it's 10 pages. That gives me like unlimited resource of Instagram posts. It can be like people think it's too much. Oh, I need to write a blog. I need to think about this and that. But it's like spending all your time only writing for social media. I think that's a waste of time.
If I remember correctly, you've launched the creatorstudio.nl right before the first lockdown, right?
Yes.
How was that?
People found themselves, and with people I mean like organizations, like city marketing organizations, for example. I think for them, this was also a new thing because they were also only focusing on bloggers from, I don't know, Europe, let's say Italy, Germany, whatever, Spain, bringing them to the Netherlands, to Amsterdam, to Utrecht, to The Hague, and showing them, more Holland promotion outside, like international promotion of the Netherlands. And suddenly they were like, oh God, what do we need to do now? My work shifted from my own agency to explore Utrecht more. But after the first lockdown was done, things start rolling again. People start being unsecure what's going on and just thinking, yeah, well, we need to get our business going because we don't know how long this is going to last. So I worked for a museum for a few months. It was more for a closed museum than open one, but okay. They needed to be more visible online, so that worked out perfectly. And I had clients that wanted to like really invest in their visibility online and took the time to do so. And I think a lot of people finally found out how important online is. Lots of like shops and restaurants or whatever were like, oh, we're fine. People can, come to us and, stuff like that. And now they found themselves like, oh shit, what now? There's where I came in. So growing a community as large as I did is now really paying off.
With the pandemic, everybody's now living on the internet, maybe even more than we used to before. Mm-hmm. Did that bring any shift or any changes to the world of content marketing?
It did. I think a lot of people now see themselves as content marketers or Instagram strategists, and like, you have like 2 followers. What you're talking about? Stuff like that. So loads of people are doing that nowadays. And I think, I'm not sure it's because loads of people are on Instagram, but to be quite honest, I find it a little bit boring nowadays because everyone does the same thing. There are some people that are like real creators, and then you find them and then you go, oh, you make this work for you and you put like all your talent into it. But mostly it's just like blah. And you're like, oh, okay, And that's because loads of people went to the platform looking for visibility and doing what other people do instead of doing what suits them and, what makes them shine. So I think, yeah, that's a bit of an issue at the moment. Does make you think?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, because loads of like stores didn't, they didn't have a web shop because there was always, oh, we do it another time. Oh, we do it another time. We don't need it right now. We do it another time, or an Instagram account. No, I don't have time. I'm just running my shop right now and people are coming in. That's fine. So loads of people never thought about online. It's better to not
do it than to do it badly.
But at that time you realize, yeah, maybe you should have done it badly because now you have nothing.
Yeah.
And they needed to rush it. So it wasn't perfect anyways. So, and what is perfection anyways? You perfect something along the way and every time it changes. Every time your perspective of perfect changes, So nothing is always, nothing is set in stone. This is the way it should be. So now you're done, and everyone copies each other. Instead of just doing
like
your own
if
thing.
it worked for this person, it's going to work for me because we are in similar niches and stuff.
Exactly.
I have that thing as well when I was like, I was never like fully committed to growing my own Instagram account. I grew some accounts for clients and stuff, but like for my own, it was always like, okay, that this is just me going around taking photos. But at one point I was like, okay, I have to post a photo of a canal in Amsterdam because that still performs really well. But then you end up being stuck taking the same photo on the same corner of Prinsengracht every week. And it's just so boring.
It is. But yeah, beginning photographers see that and they think, oh, that's what I need to do, I
mean, people need validation.
Exactly. But I think, you have your own, everyone isn't the same.
Well, on that note, you've been on like both sides of the coin. You've worked as an influencer yourself and you are working as a content strategist now. Collaborations with brands and like hospitality establishments have always been important for blogs like Explore Your Tract, but we've also seen different trends there. For example, at one point, Instameets were a thing.
Oh, God.
And then Instameets were fun, but then they became too big. Like I was once at an Instameet in a restaurant in Amsterdam, and there was like 150 other people with two tables of food you can photograph, and like there's literally nothing you can do that somebody's not doing already. And like, no. Did you see any shifts in that area? What is that brands should be looking for if they want to have a social media campaign with, let's say, an influencer, or just like a social media campaign in general?
Not only restaurant, but like museums as well. They were more like into empty meets. I don't know how this started, but I was getting like, and still getting invites for like empty meets for museum, or like and they come to a restaurant and taste our menu or whatever. And I think like the smaller entrepreneurs learn from their like bigger companies, and there is where it goes wrong. Because the bigger companies, they're not going to offer you what you are worth. They're just going to say, hey, you want to do our campaign? We give you, I don't know, this and this and that. Or we have a budget and you can make this money, whatever. So, you need to ask for what you're worth. Otherwise, you're just not going to get it. And so that's where it starts. And loads of people are still doing things for free because either they're insecure about if they can ask money or not, or they think I'm too small, I cannot ask money or whatever. And to be quite honest, there's no written book on how much an influencer should earn. It's not like you have this branch, what's it called, CAO, and it says if you're in bracket number 1, it should be this. If you're bracket number 2, everyone thinks of their prices themselves, but like ask for it. If there's a budget, what's your budget? This is my price, etc. And loads of like smaller people see all those bigger companies having people over, for exposure and not paying anything. No, I'm kind of over that. Also, empty meets. I think I went to an empty meet twice just to see what it was like.
Invited twice, so.
Yeah. And I was like, what's the use? People follow me because they want to see what I like, but also the interaction, if I go to an empty museum, they're going to think, oh, no one goes to that, no one goes to that museum, so why should I? Instead, and what I do with Explore Utrecht is show the experience that I have, but also other people walking there, other people viewing the paintings. I think
it started because for a photographer, going to a museum that's constantly busy can actually be very annoying. Like sometimes I want to admire the building, or sometimes I actually want to take a photo of an artwork in the space just without a crowd of people there.
Yeah.
So like I can see how, some Instagrammers can find that actually very like inspiring. You have more time, you can do stuff.
Exactly. But at a certain point it was like ballerinas and I don't know, outfit changes. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Is this about the art? What am I doing here? It's like, it's really, and for me, like I said, it was the, and I can understand what you say, because when I want to take a picture of a facade, I don't want people walking around with Albertine bags and whatever,
right.
Crowding, my vision. And so then, I wait until I can take a picture. But for within like museums or restaurants, it is important for me. I need other people to tell my story. So I want other people there, and I can understand that they don't. So, but that's why I stopped going. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense for me. And also restaurants, I still do tastings a lot because I love food. But I'm very selective in the restaurants I work with now. I was already selective, but now I'm even more so. And to be quite honest, I'm even thinking about totally cutting that out of the blog, and I just pay whatever if I go to dinner for a restaurant and I share that. Because I don't think people, like you said, like they just invite everyone. And, they don't put any thought into it.
So what's your tip for, let's say, a brand or a restaurant or a tourism board who wants to work with an influencer? Like, don't make big Insta meets because they're weird, or
select the person that represents your brand the best way. I think that will be it. Like let's say for smaller brands or local, let's say a local restaurant, let's say the eclair guy. And I'm not sure how much his eclairs cost, but let's say he sells them for €6, for example. Then I would work with a lifestyle blogger that's more like high class. Then I would work for a blogger that only writes about student and student food, to be quite honest. Because you want your eclair to have that status, That's what an eclair is about. It's like fancy. It's fancy food for people that enjoy life, enjoy a cup of coffee and sit there and, that's what you want your I think at least your eclair to be about. It's about something. And of course you can have, a rich student, I don't know, can like an eclair as well.
But they're then in that aspirational group rather than in the student food group, right?
Exactly. You want something that represents your brand. It could be if you're a brand that has like, hey, you can make this dinner in 5 minutes, and these are the ingredients. You can be a little bit more low key. Low priced maybe. But see where you wanna. What is it you want people to feel when they are interacting with your brand? I think that's the most important thing. If I see like a very expensive, fancy eclair, I think of rich lifestyle. you don't need to be rich, say have money to have a rich lifestyle. Let's be clear about that one. But it's something you want people to, you want a certain emotion. And that's what I'm missing with loads of sponsorships. It's, just tell people this is the menu and they can eat it. I'm like, but what is the emotion behind your restaurant? What is it that you want to draw people to? And I think that's what's missing nowadays. I rather also work with people, not once, but like, every time you have a new menu, every time you have a new eclair, have the same person or the same group of people taste your menu, and not every time another person, because you grow as a brand as well, and it's more authentic if you have a steady stream of exposure with certain people. Then, oh God, I'll just invite everyone and see where it sticks. It's just it's a different kind of feeling. So I think loads of people maybe don't even think about their brand in that way. You just, I have this fancy eclair, it's for everyone. And then where it goes wrong. Nothing is for everyone.
Yeah, and ultimately you don't want everyone to get it because you can't produce as many of them so that everyone can have it.
Exactly. And lately I've been getting, kind of a rumor. I'm not supposed to say actually, but some restaurant owners really won't work with certain influencers anymore because their content is just not of quality. So they say, I'm sorry, no.
Okay, not even if they have like really big numbers?
No.
Interesting.
No, because they're really, and finally, they're seeing that they want the content to be what they would put out on their own social media. So we're getting there.
In 3 short sentences, what are your top 3 content marketing tips?
First of all, start with your own corner of the internet. So is that going to be a blog, a podcast, whatever? Start with that. Second of all, do what you love. Don't do what you see other people doing. And the third would be yourself. Don't copy paste someone else's, concept or whatever. Just do what you want to do. Even if you're unsure or you don't know what you're doing, just be you.
All right. Do you have any branding or marketing tips for me?
For you? Oh, yeah. God. I think you are pretty much yourself.
Yeah, but it's always like a struggle as to what to focus on because I always have so many things going on at once. Like, for example, I also make music. I have this podcast. I am a photographer. I do, it's just a lot. And I'm always thinking, like, is there something that I should be doing that I'm missing? Like, is there something I should really be doing, but I'm too lazy?
No, I think you need to be, if you find the right formula that works for you, I think the magic word is always consistency.
Right.
You need to be consistent in what you do, and that's how you grow. That's how you learn. And I don't think it really matters if you do different things, because I also do different things. I get bored if I do one thing. And usually I never finish one thing either. I go on to the next.
I mean, projects are never finished. They're just abandoned.
Yeah. So something going on. And I have many ideas. But if you have like one thing that you really like, something you want to launch or you really want to grow in, I would focus on that and go with that. But don't give up on the other things that you like. Because you're gonna need something to go back to every time. Sometimes something doesn't go the way you want it to go.
Yeah,
and then you need to abandon it. Do something else and then go back to it. That's not a bad thing. Sometimes you really need to think about the direction you're taking, and I think you should allow yourself to take that time. And doing different things means you are growing in like several ways, and it's different for everyone. Some people need focus to do something, and other people need to be like scattered all over the place to find out what they really like. So yeah.
What if you like all of it?
Well, well, enjoy all of it, enjoy all of it and do it. And I think the main thing is, what is it that, again, when, someone Googles your name or when you Google your name, what is it you want to find? What is it truly that defines you?
What do you want to be known for?
Yeah, no, what does define you? What is you?
Okay.
And not what you want to be known for. Some people think, oh, but I want to do... It's always external. And when something is external, it doesn't last. So what is it that you really, really want to show the world? And go for that. And if it's everything, is photography, video, or whatever.
Food, we used to be a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
Because but then when I initially wanted to do it, I also have a food blog for those who don't know, but I haven't posted anything to it for a long time. Initially, I didn't have time to make good food videos, because let's say I only had Fridays off and it would take me 5 days, so 5 Fridays to make one video.
Yeah.
That was just not working. And now during the lockdown, I spent a lot of time in the kitchen, but that was an escape from everything else. So I was I kind of don't want to bring my camera into the kitchen right now, because I'm
your
just
time.
So just finding that balance has been. And then how do you go from talking about bread to talking about cameras?
I think you can make it work, because you need, to take a good shot of that bread. You do need to know about how a camera works. And it's the same with me. People see my pictures of the city, but they're also interested in what presets I use, or how I shoot that video, or how I chose that angle. And you can make it. It's what makes actually a creator. It's several things. You don't do just one thing, but think of one storyline that you should tell, and that's always your personal story. It's never someone else's story or something else you copy paste. And make your passions work for you. And I think, really think about, what is it you want to put out in the world? What is it you can teach people that makes you happy? And that's what you go for. And, loads of people brand for a market, they do and I've never done that, investigate or research the market. Oh, this is what people like, so this is what I'm going to put out. That's not sustainable, because you're not going to last very long if you do it that way. If you do what other people like, you need to do what you like, show people what you like, and eventually you will find a market for that. It is what takes the long way, because it's the hard road. Maybe it sounds selfish, but if you cater to yourself and you do it in an honest way, authentic way, you will find your own community that likes what you do.
And the final question: what are the plans for both Explore Utrecht and Creator Studio in the future?
Creator Studio I can be very short about. So that I'm going to go with one course right now. I had several courses, to be quite honest, because I also always change everything. So I decided, no, that's not working for me. And I've decided to go with the online marketing. So I really, content marketing. I really think with people, how can I make my brand online bigger? That's the main thing, and that's one course that I'm going to put out there, and that's it. And with Explore Utrecht, actually, I don't know yet. The brand is not going to be as much about the city anymore, which it was in the beginning. It's going to be more about me. So we're switching things around.
Okay, interesting.
That's going to be a main thing. We're bringing fashion back because, to be quite honest, it's the biggest part of my life. And I love it. I love clothes. I don't like following trends. Actually, I never follow trends. I always do what I want and style outfits and things the way I want it. There are followers for everyone. Some people might find it even more interesting, but it is something that's going to make me happy and eager to get going again. And that's actually the only focus I need to have. So
that's the most important thing. Thank you for being my guest today. Hope you enjoyed.
I surely did.
This was Dainahara Polonia, and you can find her online at exploreutrecht.com and at creator-studio.nl. Thanks for listening to another episode of Virtual Beer. You can find the podcast at virtualbeerpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. If you liked this, please consider rating and reviewing it on iTunes. It really helps to a small podcast like this. All the relevant links will be in the show notes or in the description of this YouTube video if you're watching this as a YouTube video right now. Once again, thanks for listening, and I'll see you and hear you in the next one. Yeah. I think that's it.
Very good.
All right.